Everyone, you can forget everything I explained to you today. If you can remember this most important rule of all. 皆さんこんにちは and welcome to Let's Ask Shogo. I have handled over 60,000 foreign travelers working in the tourism industry in Kyoto. And many of them, as they travel Japan, were very worried they might offend someone by having incorrect manners. It's probably because many people have the impression that Japan is very strict with manners and rules. I even had a few requests for Japanese manner videos from some of my subscribers through Instagram. I'm very honored that so many people respect our culture. Although I personally think that you really don't have to worry that much. I do want more people to feel more comfortable. So today, I will introduce the 5 basic table manners in Japan that almost every Japanese is taught while growing up. The priority of the rules will rise towards the end, so be sure to check them all. If you follow the 5 I will introduce today, I'm pretty sure that many Japanese will be very pleased with your respect towards our culture. However, I didn't include the rules with chopsticks because I would probably have to make a whole nother video just about it. I'll talk about that in another video someday soon. And before I start, I want to make it clear that I don't mean to force these things to foreign tourists. I'm making this video for those who are a little anxious and would prefer to learn a few tips in advance. I'm already grateful that many people like our culture and are willing to visit Japan. それでは本日も参りましょう。Number 1. Not leaving your meal. In Japan, we are taught not to leave our meal as much as possible. My father, for example, was very strict, so he would not let me leave the table before I finished eating everything. I remember crying while I ate the vegetables I hated, as it took me more than 3 hours to finish. I used to live in the US for 6 years when I was in elementary school, but my mother almost fainted when she saw the huge garbage boxes in American cafeterias, with tons and tons of uneaten food thrown away by the kids. Japanese have this culture because we have a very long history of frequent famines. Japan is an island surrounded by oceans, with 70% of its land occupied by mountains, not to mention the earthquakes, typhoons, and volcano eruptions that happen very often. The Japanese people always had trouble securing enough food for everyone. This is how the idea of もったいない, which means something like don't waste anything or use everything with care, grew deeply into our culture. If you eat everything on your plates cleanly, it will show respect to whoever prepared the meal and the lives of the food. It just simply feels very good to see clean, empty dishes. I personally think that this is one of the good traditions of Japan, but it seems that it's gradually fading away. It is because we are not troubled with the shortage of food anymore. So I see small kids leaving and throwing their food away without hesitation, and many adults too leaving their food at restaurants. On the other hand, it means that you don't have to force yourself into eating everything when you come across something you don't like in Japan. But just remember that you'll make people happy if you eat everything. It's very respectful. Number 2. When to and when not to make sounds while eating. Japan is famous for slurping noodles, and many people believe that we slurp everything that we eat. But that's not true. What we slurp is something with warm liquid. That, for example, includes ramen, udon, miso soup, and hot tea. So in Japan, many people think that slurping, for example, pasta is disgusting. It's one of the things my mother hated the most and told me to never do it unless I have a gun pointing at my head. The main purpose of slurping is to eat the noodles quickly in order to eat it in its best condition. It has nothing to do with expressing your gratitude to someone, so you don't have to make sounds if you don't want to. To find out more about this, please check out my other video. And almost any other sound apart from slurping warm liquid, is considered bad manners. For example, the sound of placing tableware down and the sound of chewing when eating. If you need to blow your nose, it's best that you leave the table to someplace else, where no one can hear you. Number 3, holding bowls. When you order Japanese food or set meals, many restaurants serve bowls with rice and miso soup. You should hold these bowls in your hand when eating. いただきます。The bowls that should be held and eaten are those that are light enough to hold with one hand. Do not forcefully lift a big bowl containing ramen or udon noodles, or flat plates, for example. Just keep your hand that is not holding your chopsticks on the side of these bowls or plates. But to be honest, the line between this is something you should hold or should not hold is a bit ambiguous. It does depend on that person. However, the rice and miso soup bowls must be held for sure. The reason why we have to hold small bowls is because if we don't, we have to bring our head and face down to eat it, right? In Japan, this posture is called inugui and is thought as a vulgar manner. Number 4, keeping your elbows off the table. While you eat, you must keep both of your hands above the table. However, you must keep your elbows off the table though. If you go to a cheap gyudon beef bowl restaurant, you see a lot of guys eating like this on their own, but this is thought of as a bad manner. This is simply because with your elbows on the table, it makes you look like you have an arrogant attitude. If you keep your elbows off, your posture will inevitably look more elegant. By the way, the reason why you have to keep your other hand above the table is to show you are not hiding anything from the person you are eating with. In the past, if you had your hand down, people would have thought that you're hiding a weapon. Number 5, press your hands together before and after the meal. Everyone, you can forget everything I explained to you today. If you can remember this most important rule of all, you have to press your hands together before and after the meal to show respect to the food and to the people who have prepared the meal. We also say いただきます before the meal and ごちそうさまでした after the meal. いただきます。ごちそうさまでした。いただきます means I will have this meal, but in a very polite way. ごちそうさまでした means this was a great meal. Again, in the most polite way you can say it. Many people say the abbreviation ごちそうさま as well. Even today, every Japanese child is taught to say this at school. It is for sure the most important table manner in Japan. I am teaching my 2-year-old daughter very strictly about this manner, and she has been doing it since she was 1 year old. She won't eat anything without doing it. However, I understand that いただきます and ごちそうさまでした are very long and difficult to remember. So if you can't remember them, it's okay. I think that the chef, the restaurant staff, and your Japanese friends will already be very happy to see you just pressing your hands together. It's a very respectful behavior. Then lastly, today's conclusion. I introduced 5 basic table manners in Japan. Number 1. Not leaving your meal. Japan has developed the idea of mottainai from its long history of lacking food due to the harsh environment. It is best not to leave your food to show respect to the meal and to the person who made it. Number 2. When to and not to make sounds while eating. We make slurping sounds only when we eat something with warm liquid. Otherwise, you should not make other sounds like placing tableware down and the sound of chewing when eating. Number 3. Holding bowls. You should hold small bowls like rice or miso soup in your hand when eating. This is to eat with a proper posture. However, you don't have to hold large bowls or plates. Number 4. Keeping your elbows off the table. You have to keep your other hand above the table, but your elbows off. Having your other hand under the table meant that you were hiding a weapon in the past. And having your elbows on the table makes you look like an arrogant person. Number 5. Press your hands together before and after the meal. Please press your hands together and say "itadakimasu" before the meal and "gochisousama" after the meal. This is for sure the most important table manner in Japan. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you learned a new table manner of Japan, please hit the like button to let me know. And it will be great if you can share this video to your friends and family. And my goal is to achieve 100,000 subscribers by January 2022, so your help would mean a lot. Thanks again, and I'll see you in my next video. どうもありがとうございました。